Hey there everyone, I'm back with another video. I hope you all are doing well. And you know, one of the questions I get asked a lot is honestly about the PlayStation 3. I do quite a bit of PlayStation 3 videos, and the reason I do that is because people really love the PlayStation 3, even though at the time it wasn't as popular as it is now. I think we can look back and safely say that it had quite a good library of games, and it brought a lot of great features and gameplay and IP to the forefront. Think about some of the IP that the PS3 introduced. I mean, the Uncharted series, the Resistance series. There's a lot to be had there, and some series we'll never see again. But it's always good to go back and play a PlayStation 3. Right now is the perfect time to collect for a PlayStation 3 because the consoles are inexpensive and the games are, for the most part, inexpensive. Yes, once in a while you'll find some games that are, a little bit on the pricier side, but for the most part, you can pick up things very, very cheaply. The only downside that I would say to collecting for PlayStation 3 right now is the controllers. The original controllers, finding them that work, that have a working battery that will hold a charge, is very difficult. I think I have something like 10 controllers and maybe 2 of them will hold somewhat of a charge for a little bit of time. But there are some off-brand controllers that you can buy. Overall though, it's a great console. It's a console that kind of really came into its own. People ask me, even in 2025, is it worthwhile? Should I pick up a PlayStation 5? Is it relevant? Well, listen, there's no backwards compatibility natively with these games on the PlayStation 5. I honestly think I might put in more time on my PlayStation 3 than my PlayStation 5. So obviously I'm going to say it's worth collecting for, it's worth picking up for. There's certain games. I'm not a PC guy. I don't game on PC. When I talk about stuff, it's usually console based. If I say exclusive, sometimes somebody will go, "Well, it's on PC too." I don't usually count that. It's no offense to those people that game on PC, but I talk about consoles and things like that. Even stuff like Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, oftentimes people will, I'll say it's still tied to the console, and people will go, "Well, no, I played it on PC." Like, there's no official PC port. So the only official release of that game has been on the PlayStation 3. But is PlayStation 3 still the hotness in 2025? Let's get into it. So the PlayStation 3 did quite a few things well. I think exclusive games obviously being one of them, and variety being the other thing. So if you look at it from that aspect, and maybe you like racing games, for instance, you can have something like Gran Turismo 5, which is a simulation racer. You can have something like Motorstorm Pacific Rift, which is very much an arcade racer. You can have kart racing like Mod Nation Racers, or even kart racing like Little Big Planet Karting. And all of these games offer something different, something unique, and they're all exclusive games on the PlayStation 3, even to this day. But the important thing is, none of these games are super expensive. All of them are something unique and awesome and just a lot of fun in general. And I think that's why the PlayStation 3 has such a long-lasting legacy and kind of is looked back on with a little bit more reverence than when it first came out. Because when you first look into the PlayStation 3, people just talk about, it was super expensive and, they didn't like it, and you might as well get a 360, or you might as well get a 360 and a Wii, and it costs the same amount as a PS3 by itself. So Sony fought back against a lot of that negativity and ended up coming out with a plan to make the PlayStation 3 viable. They lowered the price, they come out with the Slim and the Super Slim, and really they just came out with tons of great games, tons of exclusive games that really hold up well today. And some of them still being tied to the platform, I think makes all the difference in the world, because a lot of people I know who are PlayStation fans will still have their PlayStation 3 set up, even if they own a PlayStation 5, because they want to go back and they want to play some of these games, they want to enjoy these games, and they hold up incredibly well. PlayStation 3 games look great. A lot of the first-party stuff was ahead of its time because they really knew how to utilize the cell processor. So yeah, a lot of variety, great racing games, a lot of fun to be had. Even though the Xbox 360 got a lot of credit as quote-unquote the shooter box, I think the PlayStation 3 had quite a lot of great shooters itself, right? I mean, despite having, all the same multi-platform third-party shooters, it also had the Resistance series, including what you're looking at here, which is Resistance 2, which is my favorite of the entire series. And they did such a good job with it. I love this franchise, and clearly Sony saw something in it, and it must have done well enough to warrant getting 3 games in the series. But I would love to see this franchise come alive once again. They just, it's such a phenomenal game and franchise, and to be able to play through the full trilogy on the PlayStation 3, I think is phenomenal. Now, they might have updated this and let you stream it. I'm not sure 100%, but as far as I can recollect, like, the only place that you can still play this game naturally and natively is on a PlayStation 3. And again, Sony really went all out with the shooters in this generation and just locked down some of the best ones. And obviously, if you've never played the Resistance games, I highly recommend it. They're cheap. You can get all 3 probably for under $20, so hard to beat that, and very highly recommended. So the God of War franchise is probably one of my favorites, and there's a couple good ones to really pick at on the PlayStation 3. There's God of War 3, which they actually did a remaster on the PlayStation 4, so not tied to the platform, but still a lot of fun and plays great on the platform. And also God of War Ascension, which is still tied to the platform, and even though it plays more like maybe an extended expansion of God of War 3, it's still a great game in and of itself. It has some of that amazing God of War action. I think what happened was, those games came out kind of close together, and that caused a little bit of an issue with the God of War franchise, and that's why they probably rebooted it a bit, and they did the 2018 God of War where it's more third person over the shoulder action. I still enjoy the old school style as well. I like the new games as well, but for me, the old school games are just a blast to play. I think sometimes people maybe get caught up in the fact that you can't really control the camera, and it's got some minor clunkiness where that's concerned, and maybe some gameplay that's stuck in the past. But for me, it's still just so much fun. The hack and slash aspect, and the fact that the story is just so brutal, and definitely that mature rated game. And a lot of the stuff that Sony did this generation was very mature and action oriented. So I really like that about the PS3 is the first party stuff. A lot of it, yeah, there's some kiddie stuff for sure, but a lot of it, the Resistance trilogy, Killzone stuff, God of War, all really mature theme stuff that looks and plays great. The wackiness and craziness of the PS3 exclusives doesn't end there. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Yeah, they had this game available as a cross-buy promotion for the PlayStation Vita as well. And, it's fun to play there on the go. But it's also, in my opinion, much more fun to play it on the console, especially if you want to do like local co-op and things like that. Each character has their own kind of story, little arcade story to play through. I know some people thought it was maybe a little bit lacking in some of the content. I felt like, maybe it would have been a little bit better had they had, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, maybe Lara Croft. Some of the stuff that, has become iconic with PlayStation, especially in the early days, but still, it's a lot of fun for what it is. And if you're like a Smash Brothers fan, I think you're going to enjoy what it has to offer. I've always been a little bit sad that we haven't gotten a sequel to this, and we likely never will, but it's still, just to me anyway, a blast to go back and play through, and just goes to show the uniqueness of the platform itself. And so, yeah, when you look at it and you go, okay, well, hey man, that's a really cool game that they have there. I think that you could say that to a lot of games, but this is such a unique situation, and a game still tied to that platform in terms of console. So yeah, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, great game, fun stuff, and very unique. Probably the big thing that I play every year is Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. This was the reason why I bought a PS3 in the first place, right? I knew that this game was coming, and I knew that the PS3 was expensive, but I also understood the assignment. I had to get one because I knew I wanted to play Kojima's latest masterpiece, and I was not disappointed. Now, the only thing that I've been disappointed in so far after this is the other Metal Gear games that have come out, like in particular, I wasn't a real big fan of like Phantom Pain and stuff. There's just something about this game that I like, and it's just amazing, and it looks great, and it plays great. 100% officially tied to the PlayStation 3 platform even today. That's the only official place you can play it. They even patched in trophies to it, because this game came out at a time before Sony had mandated trophies on the platform, but they patched them in later, and it's just an amazing game to play. And just I think the story is crazy. The gameplay, the graphics, everything holds up well in 2025, and that's something that I'm sure a lot of people were wondering. And to me, yeah, just a phenomenal game. And this is what PlayStation 3 collecting is all about. This is what PlayStation 3 gaming is all about, in my opinion. Another franchise that's kind of stuck on the PlayStation 3 is the infamous 1 and 2 games, and I enjoy these games quite a lot. Props to Sucker Punch for moving on and starting the Infamous series on the PlayStation 3, and I just feel like there is so many great games to play on the PlayStation 3, and the Infamous series is just one they oftentimes get overlooked. I know there's only 2 of these games on the PlayStation 3, but they're still just a lot of fun. Building up your own character. Are you good? Are you bad? Increasing your powers, finding out more about your powers. It's just a phenomenal thing to see, and overall I just like the way that they kind of went about it. And for me, I think that creating your own superhero from scratch and your own hero game from scratch is a very difficult thing to do. So bravo to the developers for being able to do that. And like I said, the game, it looks good, it plays good. I know some people maybe have a little bit of problem with some of the frame rate here or there, but I haven't really noticed many issues. I played through this game a few times, but just in general, love it. And this is like what PS3 is all about, folks. I mean, it's really just that good. So yeah, give it a try. So I'm going to leave it with some very cliche picks, but these are games that help shape the PlayStation 3 in general. So stuff like Uncharted 2, I mean, there's the whole trilogy. Killzone 2, yeah, Killzone 3 is really good as well. The Last of Us is probably the most cliche here because they remastered this game and then remade the remaster after that. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, the last Sly Cooper game, really well done. Overall, I think the amount of software that the PlayStation 3 had, the amount of exclusive software was incredible. And, seeing the way that people sort of look back at the PlayStation 3 and really go, oh man, you know what? They really had some great exclusive games, and it was better than I remembered. And sometimes I'll do a video on the PlayStation 3 and people will say to me, oh wow, I forgot that even existed, or oh wow, that game looks cool, maybe I'll pick it up. And I love to hear that stuff. So for me anyway, it's awesome to see this happen. And the PlayStation 3 has a ton of great games that hold up well even today. So if you were looking to start collecting, now is a great time to do so. And hopefully my videos inspire you a bit. That's always the hope. Anyway, if you enjoyed the content, please leave a like or possibly even consider subscribing, and I'll catch you next time.